This is a microphone test.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Rubber
Baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Double Dip Draft Season 6, Week 1 of the Diamond Division. I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me again,
Kenneth, the coach of the Ne'er-Do-Well Nido Kings. And the beautiful thing about this Week 1 is it's probably the most lopsided we've ever had in the history of Double Dip.
it's pretty bad. I mean, if you look across like all of the divisions, there's kind of a trend. Like there was a 6-0, at least one 6-0 in every single division.
Two, I think, in Diamond. No, two in Pearl. Yeah, you're right. So literally the end of the first week, it's just a picture of like 1-0 plus 6, 1-0 plus 6, 1-0 plus 6 across the entire scoreboard.
So we'll go over the specific rankings and like standings at the end of the analysis, but let's jump into the first week, man. There's a lot of rust to shake off, a lot of cool shit, a lot of interesting matchups in Diamond, and let's fucking see how everybody did. Starting off with Scoot, coach of the Dumblespoods army, versus Black Captain, coach of the Martian Mantines. Scoot's back with his, this is his 6th season of Double Dip. He's been here the whole time. Obviously, he is a huge champion. I think relatively safe to say he's second in the whole league in terms of skill, right behind IDM.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty safe bet.
He's won a season before. He's been in Grands multiple times, and I would say is very much favored to win this matchup versus Black Captain, who's here for his 2nd season. I believe his 2nd season, maybe his 3rd.
No, I believe because his first season was last season where he drafted Triple Weather.
Yeah,
which was
that's true.
You know,
it was kind of bonkers. It was a very interesting draft. I mean, it kind of set the stage because there were other people who did the same kind of thing where they like drafted multiple weathers at the same time.
And for there being 3 different weathers on the field, he actually did kind of manage to make it work more often than not.
Yeah,
there was no real conflict there in terms of abusers that needed to be out in the field and win.
Yeah.
So.
He's playing a lot more of a, standard kind of no-frills draft this time around, and he's brought 6 pretty standard-looking Pokemon. Mega Gallade, though, I'm really interested in seeing it because this is our first season back in NatDex, and I don't think we really saw much use of Mega Gallade in the past when it was legal in Double Dip, and it's kind of understood in the greater draft meta that Mega Gallade is, like, one of the best Pokemon. Like, that's not banned, full stop, which is kind of crazy to me. But well, we'll see how it panned out. Are you ready to jump in?
I am. I have one thing that I kind of want to jump into first.
Okay.
And this really this has no bearing on team building from a mechanical standpoint, but I really like Black Captain's like color scheme. Like he's got the green and white Gallade, he's got the yellow bug, the red and yellow. It's just appealing.
It's kind of a nice like sort of spectrum.
Aesthetically speaking, I really like the team color.
Skarmory kind of runs into Latios. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Meanwhile, Scoots sort of have just like the really cool blues. And
yeah, Scoots have the ugliest Florges.
Honestly, yeah.
That's all right. We'll go ahead and jump in. Florges Blue. Actually, very funny nickname for this one. I like them. I like this.
I like Airbus.
Yeah, the Skarmory set, we don't get to see it a lot off-rip, but it's pretty weird. Electros actually also just gets off like some early momentum. But I mean, early rocks for Black Captain is good. Scoot's hard calls out your neutralizing gas weaving, which maybe should have been levitate, but
I do have trouble trying to figure out where the neutralizing gas was, but I also don't have the entirety of Scoots' draft in front of me, so I couldn't really say which is which. So that could definitely have made more sense in during drills, because you have different brains coming into play depending on who you drill with, and there's just some stuff that some people do see, some stuff that some people don't.
Yeah. And I mean, there's you can bring something that's wrong for the match, but right for the matchup, and that's what I assume that was, but I didn't really, we didn't take a lot of time to look at it. Crit Volt Switch also did like 10 trillion% damage there.
There's a lot of crit moments in this particular game. Honestly, Lottie being burned, very okay. It's much better than, say, being paralyzed by...
Yeah, like Electros or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, that ultimately doesn't matter that much either way, because it's just one wrong double away from getting Pursuit trapped by Weavile and dying no matter what. Unless it's Scarf, in which case I can kind of, play a mind game between, like, Ice Shard and, like, Aura Sphere or something.
I think the only thing about the Skarmory is I feel like it's trying to do too many things. It
Yeah.
has both rocks, and it has, like, some offensive moves, and I think it also has
It has, like, Stealth Rock, Iron Head. I think it shows, like, Drill Peck later or something. I'm not really sure, but it's kind of nuts. Also, my God.
I didn't know that it got Mach Punch. That's actually completely new to me.
It is kind of interesting to me because this thing, I think there were ways that it could have burned if Scoots didn't just attack it first. And taking a turn to Swords Dance and, like, I get the impetus to want to set up on this thing, 'cause it's hard to set up on everything else, but I don't know, I would have assumed that maybe Skarmory doesn't have Whirlwind or whatever, right?
Right. Plus, even if he did, it looks like, Scoots does pack the Fire Fang coverage for it, so even if he did banked on the Whirlwind, there was also a chance of it being flinched, so...
Yeah. I mean, he did get a lot of shit here, but that's the thing. So this was a sick turn, and we'll go back and break it down in more detail later, but Scoots goes out, even though he's +2 speed, and it makes sense when you think about it. But the long and short of it is basically that Black Captain bluffed having Scarf plus Tailwind this whole time. And Scoots was like, well, I don't want to lose this right now. And I think Scoots was still favored to win if he did lose Garchomp in that instance. But he forced it out. Like, Black Captain just played very confidently, bluffed the Scarf, and Scoots was like, fine, I'll bite. I'm out of here. And it worked out. It got Black Captain a better differential at the end.
Yeah. I remember looking back on it, I was wondering why Garchomp didn't just stay in, but that's because I neglected the Tailwind the first time around.
Yeah.
And, no, if seeing someone who, going up against a former champion successfully, bluff a set, I feel like that means a lot sort of on the scoreboard in terms of, like, mental games.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Black Captain is not someone you can just sort of sweep by.
Yeah.
He's very clearly someone that knows how to use the brain.
Yeah, and see, the thing about this, too, is we were talking about this earlier, and Scoots mentions it in the game chat, which I don't know if you'll be able to see based on the crop, but if he didn't have close combat, if he was running, like, Drain Punch instead on Mega Gallade, or just didn't use close combat, he probably would have won.
Yeah, Milotic was low enough to be hit by anything. Matang, Earthquake, or Knockoff. I don't remember what Gallade runs, but Garchomp definitely within range after Webs.
Oh, yeah.
And then Electros is already decently slow. Gallade just naturally outpaces
it. It hasn't taken a bunch of damage anyway,
Yeah, it's only 45%. Everything would have died if it just not been close combat, but I guess, you can't really think to yourself, this is strictly an endgame cleanup Gallade. This could be... if it's got close combat, maybe he intended to bring it out a lot earlier to try and punch a hole in something much earlier than he did, and maybe lead the road for safer Webs or like Latios, for example, to come and try and clean up. So it's sort of hard to say in hindsight, oh yeah, it should have been Drain Punch, because, Gallade probably wasn't meant to serve the endgame purpose. That's just sort of how it shook out in the end.
Yeah, and it's entirely possible, I mean, like you're saying, that it's not necessarily an endgame Gallade. Like, that close combat bonus damage compared to, like, Drain Punch or whatever else, I mean, we haven't seen how that reflects over, like, a bunch of hits on Forges or something, right? Like, over time, or how, like, maybe close combat into Zen Headbutt is like a 2-hit KO, whereas Drain Punch into Zen Headbutt's not, and so close combat's, like, safer to spam. But just the problem is, like, when Scoots has double priority, he's brought Bullet Punch, he's brought Ice Shard, he's got the awareness to say, like, okay, I have to use these to win. It's tough. But Black Captain, genuinely, I think, phenomenal showing week 1. He got 3-0'd. Or 4-0'd, actually, but that was a close... Yeah, I think it was like, what did they say? The closest 4-0 I've ever seen.
Yeah.
4-0, but it was close, though.
I think the thing that I think most people should take away from the analysis of the match with Black Captain is the dude's got some metal. I mean, he's fearless.
Dude, he pulled up and he was just like, I'm Scarf Latios, show me that you're, like, scared. And Scoots was like, okay. And then he left,
I'm folding, I'm out of here.
He took out his Swords Dance, like, +2 speed fucking Garchomp on a bluffed Scarf in Tailwind. And it's just like, you know what?
Dude's a menace.
That's dope. And it wasn't even Scarf. He immediately was like, I have Psyshock, idiot. Like, so that's gangster, man. I think that was a really solid showing. I think if he maintains that energy going forward, it's kind of weird, like in Pokemon and in a lot of different competitive games, but especially in Pokemon, I think, where there's not like necessarily a mechanical barrier to entry. Playing against someone who's good makes more sense than playing against someone who's bad.
Right, because people that are bad don't necessarily have the same sort of game sense to, oh, I don't want this to take damage too early on because I can fight from here, in a way that makes them much less predictable, ergo more difficult to deal with, in the moment.
And my approach with that, like, what I bring it up just to say, like, Black Captain looks like he knows how to play versus good players.
Right.
So the more important thing, I think, is to be good versus bad players, right? Like, if you're kind of making that climb, you might take kind of it's like an uncanny valley thing. You're getting good, then suddenly you have to dip back down where bad players are like under predicting you, and then you're just doing the wrong move until you're like back up to the top and you're better at like safe play and predictive play, and you have a more thorough understanding of the meta. I think Black Captain is getting there. I worry if he hits that slump of like, wait, I forgot how to fight like Skittles or something, Not that Skittles is bad, but I'm saying like, he's got like the monotype draft, and it's like he's probably not gonna make like the 40 chess moves like Scoots. If you're like really good versus only the good players, the bulk of your draft is gonna be like mid-level players like you. So you just need to make sure you maintain that mindset, like don't overcomplicate it, but based on how he played versus Scoots, like what, versus, I don't know, fucking Claire or someone else in this division?
I think he's honestly got a solid chance.
Yeah.
I think he fits like a glove in his division.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think he's got a real shot of making it just based off his week one.
I have a note shared with this match and the next match, but I'll get to it at the end. But if you don't mind, I think it is time to introduce our next match, which is Cabral, coach of the Hash Slinging Aegislashers. I need to work on not falling over the absurd amount of consonants in there.
Yep.
Versus Milo Mega, their inaugural season, coach of the Canadian Cottonees. Why don't you go ahead and just break down what you see in front of you?
Sure.
The eagle-eyed viewers, at least people that have played from Gen 5 and beyond, notice there's a
strat.
There's a strategy here on the board that I feel like needs to be mentioned.
Yeah. Well, let's pregame it a little bit by saying, again, to break down who these players are. Like Cabral, this is his third season, I'm pretty sure, or maybe a second. It's so hard for me to remember these things. It's an early one of Cabral's seasons, but he's been here, right? He's got a bit of a pedigree. He did make it into playoffs last season. It was very touch and go, but he was able to beat Mass in the last week to get in. So people kind of have their eye on Cabral, right? Like, he's kind of a rising star, a bit of a contender, and he's got a real scary fucking rain draft to go around.
Absolutely. And I think he, some special mention, Cabral is our production guy.
Yep.
So, he's going to be editing this.
Yeah.
Hello, Cabral. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So he sort of indirectly gets to see all of the matches on top of having to edit them.
Yeah.
So in a way, he might be able to soak up more information.
That's true.
About the
He's kind of getting a lot of it through osmosis.
Right, yeah. He just sort of is exposed to it more often than most of us would be.
Yeah.
So,
but on the other hand, like Milo, this is their first season of Double Dip, and I haven't spoken to them much. But again, just to give you an idea, we went over this during the draft analysis. They were the very first pick, right? Literally, like A1 day one, you got number one in the division or in the whole league. And they were like, I'm gonna grab like a tier 4, right? I'm gonna grab Jump Love,
Which is a shame they didn't bring it to this matchup. The fast grass type could have
been good.
Done some work here, but
they're basically, from what little I've spoken to Milo, their main strat is just kind of like, I'm just gonna fuck around and find out, right? Like I'm gonna bring some goofy weird shit, and I'm just gonna see if it pans out. And like you were saying earlier, as you were implying when we were looking at the team preview, Durant and Doug trio is a hilarious meme combo since as far back as Gen 5. Durant's hidden ability is Truant, and it gets the move Entrainment, which gives your ability to the opponent. So, in formats where there is Shadow Tag legal, or Arena Trap in this case, what you can do with Durant is you can Entrainment Truant onto an opponent Pokemon. It hits you, it either kills you or it triggers your eject button. You go hard into your Arena Trap Pokemon, and suddenly, as long as you have Protect, you can Protect on turns where the opponent attacks, and then you can act on turns where your opponent is Truant, and they can't switch out to stop that. So in the case of like Doug Trio, you can Hone Claws 6 times, and there's no counterplay.
Yeah, because at that point you hit the +6 Earthquake, and you'll never miss the +6 Stone Edge, and that basically just that combination takes out pretty much 90% of all the Pokemon in existence.
Yeah, and if there's like
some measure,
if your opponent doesn't have like immunities, or you're like more interested in doing this, you can also like Sucker Punch, or there's like other moves you can still use to good effect. But obviously, like Earthquake Stone Edge combo with Hone Claws is so scary. And even for Cabral's team here, like, it's pretty scary. At +6, like, there's...
Yeah, +6, there's no answer to it.
Well, I mean, the answers to it would be, like, Aqua Jet, which he does have, right? He's got Kabutops, he's got, you know, Urshifu Rapid Strike, he's even got Ice Shard probably on Piloswine, so...
Right.
He's got priority, and it's all priority that's scary to Doug Trio, so it has, like, kind of a limited use, I think, but... on the whole, I think that, you know, you see the entrainment strat coming, you've got Yuxie's strong lead. Obviously, Volcarona is pretty scary, although it is pretty neutered in a team that has a lot of fast, physical rain sweepers.
Not to say that Volcarona can't perform in rain. It does get Hurricane, it does get Bug Buzz, it does get Giga Drain. There's answers to it for rain, but it's definitely not the, you know, it's not the environment that you want it to thrive in.
Right. I mean, you've got to deal with, like, thick, fat Piloswine. You've got to deal with, you know, a Swift Swim Kabutops, you know, stuff like that. Like, it's scary to be Volcarona in this matchup. So Milo, I think, came into it at a bit of a disadvantage from the team building side, or, like, you know, just from the matchup. But, you know, I mean, in the right circumstances, you know, you pick off the right threats, you get in the entrainment strat, or you know, agility up with Mega Ampharos or something. You can start making some magic happen, right?
Yeah.
So let's have a look and see what magic did or did not happen.
Pretty sure water, Little Baby Man.
I do love Little Baby Man. That's a sick name. We practiced this turn 1, me and Cabral, and he fucking fumbled it. For some reason, he did the fake out and the taunt, and then did not knock, which was just like free every time there.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not entirely sure what it would have knocked off from Inteleon, but anything like knockoff is just such a spammable move.
Scope lens.
And let's talk about this.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna pause this actually. So you'll notice here that this Urshifu does not kill Mega Ampharos, and then Mega Ampharos obviously just instantly drops it with a Thunderbolt. So you might be wondering to yourself, how did this happen? How did I get here? So Cabral, again, smart, slow U-turn, gets priority, goes into Urshifu. So there's two problems with this. The first problem, which is the obvious one, is that this is Mega Ampharos, which is part Dragon type, and it's relatively bulky, so it is not going to die to a Surging Strikes in the Rain, because it resists it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the second one is staying into this thing. Like, I'd understand wanting to get damage on it for something else later, but you have a ground type with Eviolite more likely than not.
Yeah.
It's just at full HP, just sitting there in the back.
So the other thing is, even if this wasn't a Mega Ampharos, it's got static, and you're gonna hit more than one Surging Strike on it. So you're just begging to be paralyzed. Cabral...
Mega Ampharos has Mold Breaker.
I know, but regular Ampharos doesn't. I'm saying that my hypothesis, and feel free to, you know, tell me I'm silly, Cabral, if I'm wrong here. I think he just keeps forgetting Megas are allowed. I just don't think he remembers how to deal with Megas, because he started playing, you know, in Galar decks, like, after Megas were removed from the game. And he just was like, I'm gonna bring in something to just, like, totally smoke this Ampharos. And then it Mega evolves and kills him instantly. So, you know, questionable play.
Now, it does do a lot of damage, to his credit. It is a Surging Strikes in the rain.
But the problem is, God, Rain Surging Strikes kills everything that Milo has, basically. And now Cabral loses it for no reason, right? He didn't have to do that. You know, it wasn't the right switch in. It was just a huge fumble on Cabral's part. Very sad to see.
And then just a small note from me, it's very bold to click Stone Edge in that situation, just because Stone Edge will miss. I think at that point, Liquidation from Kabutops would just kill. But, I mean, that's just me.
So, Milo is just like, I'm gonna Entrainment and then leave. Which, you know, okay.
Might as well do the thing in front of you if he, you know, given the option.
Yeah. I mean, he does, you know, like, Cabral ends up with a slept Pokemon, so, like, they got a cheeky little sleep off, but I don't know, it wasn't much. Also, big Bug Buzz Spadef drop, that actually could have mattered.
Hot does shut down the Quiver Dance if that was the set leaning into it, but it's sort of really early to start banking on that, if at all.
Yeah, because again, there's so much Aqua Jet, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you Quiver Dance, you're going to get owned by, like, a Stone Edge or something.
Mm-hmm. I actually do love this Memento play, because now it does get in. Anything behind screens, unfortunately the Rant is the one that comes in here.
That's the choice.
Could have been any of the other three.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, God, I don't know, that, like, maybe Volcarona Quiver Dance could have been good there.
Yeah, I think that would have been the way to go, because obviously it does. I mean, it shows it now, and then it just gets instantly martial damage.
Yeah, and then into Ice Shard. Bada bing, bada boom.
Cabral did end up using Piloswine just against Pokemon that almost killed it.
Yeah.
Or that could have killed it. Which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Basically, Milo's head this whole game, as far as I can tell, was just like, I really want to do this entrainment Doug Trio shit. And they found opportunities to do it, but they just don't quite understand how the setup works, right? To like, you know, like how do I get like my Arena Trap Doug Trio in front of a truant Pokemon? There's like a slight disconnect for Milo where like the moves they're clicking just don't make that situation happen, even though multiple times could have been the case. And
I mean, he gets as close as he will right now. He gets the Truant on the life part. It is asleep. So now is prime time to just get out of there. But clicks Giga Impact. So still Truant is still alive. Probably didn't mean to leave the Lifer alive. But, you know, that's how it worked out. Missed the Thunder Wave.
Thunder Wave dodge.
Just kind of looks like an Italian pizza here.
And then
spaghetti.
Milo jumps right in here. And
Shell Life part.
Actually could have been the moment for Milo.
The craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
And it wasn't. We also did learn after the fact this doesn't even have Stone Edge. It has Screech, Sub, Hone Claws, Earthquake.
Yeah, Screech, Hone Claws. I'm wondering what that's all about.
Yeah, I think it's just a lack of familiarity. You see, there's the eject button revealed there. So again, like entrainment strats could have been there. I think it's just an unfamiliarity from Milo, right? Of just being like, oh, you know, I'm relatively new to like actually playing on Smogon, so like theoretically they understand like here's what the strat is, like maybe I've seen it in a video or I've heard someone talk about it, but just like actually executing it, it's just like a little more complicated than it might seem on like the Wheel Twin Needle video or whatever that you watch.
The not necessarily like not like a pejorative by any means, but the thought that I had at the end of the Black Captain game, and I feel like is very evident in this game, is it's also just, you know, it's week 1.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still figuring out the bones of their draft and how they interact with one another.
Yep.
And even though Milo Mega did actually lose this game, maybe there is a better understanding of how Truant is supposed to work with the Jet now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Different plays in different situations, like maybe Volcarona will come out earlier in the next game. Cabral will remember Megas in the next in week 2. Maybe. You know, like I think with this match in Black Captains, it's the most indicative that it is just, you know, it's new, new Pokemon, it's new draft, it's a new season.
Yeah, it's Knack Deck. I mean, it's totally like there's going to be some growing pains for people getting into it, and I think it definitely shows. But like you said, you know, it's week 1. We're learning. We're taking what we learn about our drafts and we're, you know, applying it going forward. Cabral, you know, in the fortunate position of being able to go forward with a relatively good differential. Unfortunately, Milo put on the back foot, but not a 6-0, you know, ahead of genuinely most of the other new players. So good job, Milo. And I think Milo will get away with some sneaky bullshit at some point during the season. Let's talk about something else. I'd like to introduce to you the tastiest match of the Double Dip draft. We've got Bananas, coach of the Don't Drop That Dedennes, versus Skittles the Butt, coach of the newly renamed Crystal Cresselias, formerly the what was Skittles' game called?
Skittles it wasn't something to do with Rapidash?
No, it was
a fire type, I'm almost certain.
Damn, what was Skittles' team? I totally forget. Whatever, doesn't matter. We got the Crystal Cresselias versus the Don't Drop That Dedennes. Skittles, part of the old guard, has been playing since FSL. Unfortunately, Skittles very consistently not a playoffs contender, and has decided to have a little fun. You know, last season he went for a really hard stall draft, and it got like limited success. It wasn't great. This time, I think coming at it with a different approach to making a silly team, monotype water. We talked about this again during the draft analysis. Definitely check out that video if you haven't yet, if you're interested in hearing us elaborate on it. But I think the strongest type to do a mono team with.
Right, that or flying are really your only, or like the best contenders for monotypes. If you were going to build, if you wanted to commit to the play style.
Yeah.
And honestly, with water, like just Tapu Fini is enough to hard stop most drafts. This one, like if it's like a bulky Tapu Fini with Draining Kiss, honestly, it does really good work versus Bananas' draft.
Yeah, true.
You know, the ingredients are there. You just kind of have to make it happen.
Yeah. Bananas coming at it from a different angle, which is just my draft is very strong, and Well, it's funny because Bananas brought a bunch of low-tier heroes. You got Frostmoth, you've got Appleton, you got Behemoth. Behemoth, basically like a Trick Roomer, Whimsicott abuses Prankster. Appleton has that thick, fat, grass typing, they're like quad resistant to water, regularly. It's only normal weak to ice instead of quad weak to thick, fat. And of course, you've got Frostmoth, which can be quite scary with ice scales and access to Giga Drain and boosting moves, we'll say.
Quiver Dance.
Classic Quiver Dance type shit. I'm ready to see what happened. Bananas has kind of a reputation through Nihilus, who had a really solid run last season. Nihilus attributes some portion of his success to Bananas' good coaching, and this is Bananas' opportunity to show off like what he can do versus someone who is a we'll say beatable player from Double Dip. I love you so much, Skills, just for the record. We'll jump right on in.
Instantly turn 1, there's some disconnect here.
Yeah.
This could have very easily have just been it's Sash, right?
Yeah.
So just set up the Shell Smash.
Yeah.
Because you're about to take a bunch of damage and then kill with Ice Beam.
Yeah.
That would have been it for Whimsicott.
Problem is, we were taking our notes a few minutes ago, and I was like, dude, Skittles just needs to open a damage calculator, right? Because all you need to do is it's like, hey, I have turn 1. I see that there's a Whimsicott in front of me. I'm Amistar. I don't even have to calc to know Energy Ball, Giga Drain, whatever is going to bring me down to 1, right? My Sash.
Right.
If you just calc how much your Ice Beam does, you know, like it's hard to explain it better than that. Like all you need to do is be like, oh, Ice Beam doesn't kill. It only does like 70. So what does this lead, right? Like, why did I lead Amistar? What am I trying to accomplish? What is my way of forcing progression? Do I want procs? Do I want a Shell Smash, get early damage? Whatever. Skittles just is like, I'm gonna Ice Beam for 70 and then lose.
And that's not to say that, Shell Smash would have been the best possible option there, because as someone who dabbles quite a bit in the lower tiers, Whimsicott's, bread and butter is Encore, Prankster. So I understand not wanting to commit to the Shell Smash right away, but that's sort of the thing about when games just start. You don't really need to predict turn 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's genuinely, I guess this is really the ultimate problem with this draft is like, a Whimsicott's in front of me. It's a fast grass type. It's going to click, Energy Ball. It's going to hit anything I bring in super effectively. What do I do? What is my turn 1? I think it is worth, forcing an early Encore or, forcing like a Sleep Powder or whatever it gets access to, just genuinely like scouting, if nothing else. Dying to 2 Energy Balls and getting 70% damage that heals off in like a couple turns it's just not, I think, a good trade.
Right.
From Skittles.
Alright, let's move on to turn number 2.
Sure. and then we'll continue watching the game.
Now, they did do a respectable amount of damage.
Yeah, alright. But, leftovers revealed, it's going to come in and probably sit a lot of turns, like force things out. Sharpedo, good Pokemon, gets the early speed boost. This thing behind sub is really scary, but obviously now that it's +1 speed, it can hit it faster than it can be hit.
I think at this point, Sharpedo just needs to click buttons and get as much damage on as many things as possible, because with the 2 grass types, like, trying to sort of maintain one of your water types when you have a Split Swimmer in the back, I think is just generally not the greatest choice.
Yeah, I don't mind the protect play necessarily in theory to scout, but it's like, it's better to just scout by sacking your Sharpedo, because it can no longer set up, like, speed boosts.
Right, at that point, just click Crunch, get some damage on the Quagsire, and, move on to your Swift Swimmer from there.
Yeah.
Teal and Frostmoth is quite interesting. I quite like it.
Yeah, Frostmoth was a real problem this match, because Ice Scales has the effective damage of special moves.
Even the crit Scald in the rain only did 30%.
Yeah, it's kind of obscene. And Skittles, he does have, like, physical attackers, but they're relatively slower than Frostmoth. So basically just Bananas like threatened him out.
I do like the Toxic. Giga Drain had already been revealed, so it was a bit of a bold choice, but I mean, Frostmoth needed to start getting removed.
Yeah.
It's just too fast, and Tailwind causes too many problems for the rest of the draft.
Yeah. Energy Ball over Apple Acid. I guess there's not really any reason not to, but because it's not like that Spinef drop is going to be needed. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, you do get the Spadef drop just less often with Energy Well, but it's a thing. But
I mean, it's going to two-shot every single one of these Pokemon with or without the Spadef drop, so it just doesn't really matter. Yeah, Whimsicott gets behind the sub again.
And now Sharpedo is unfortunately slower than the Whimsicott, being that it is Mega'd.
And every turn that Skittles protects, man, he's just farming leftovers, you know?
He's just getting thicker and thicker.
Yep.
At the halfway point now, 6-3. Bruckfish is honestly a really fun pick.
Yeah.
One of the Pokemon from Alola that I feel like gets absolutely zero love, even though I think I prefer it to something more, basic like Love Disc.
Yeah.
I just think Bruckfish is like disgustingly great.
It's cool. I mean, it does actually put in some amount of work during this. I'd also like to point out what doesn't put in work, and this is something that we touched on the last couple of seasons. We'll talk about it more in depth in the next game, certainly. But one of the things to consider is you have Misty Terrain as your ability, so you should probably consider running Surf over Scald or Hydro Pump or whatever in most scenarios, right?
Right.
There's obviously, some times where it's like, oh, I'll Scald something that's like Levitating, or it's a Flying type, or there's going to be like an opposing terrain that comes out that'll override my Misty Terrain, or I can run Telepathy or whatever. I really want the Scald burn. But just remember, Misty Terrain prevents status, so if you run Scald, you're just gimping your damage and getting no secondary effect for the first, 5 turns you're out.
Yeah, and you can you get answers to those sort of micro situations while you're team building and while you're drawing. You can see how often that scenario really comes up.
Yeah. So,
I think I agree with you. Just generally run Surf for Hydro Pump if you're looking for damage and you're relying on the terrain.
Yeah. Frosmoth is a Tailwind set. I think it's like Tailwind, Giga Drain Protect. It's an interesting set. I think it's in theory supposed to stall out rain turns in the worst case scenario where you can't get your manual hail, which Quagsire does have.
And Tailwind would in theory make you faster than a lot of Pokemon, even if they don't have Swift Swim. Like if that was weak armor, Omastar would have outsped with Tailwind up.
Yeah.
Things like that.
But also consider that Quiver Dance Frosmoth would have been so scary also.
Yeah, Quiver Dance Frosmoth would have ended
Plus 2 Giga Drain would have pretty much run right through it. And Banana gets a little cheeky, maybe a little BM, maybe just wanted to inflate Quagsire stats, give him some love.
And I can't say that I disagree with that thing,
True, yeah. He threw up some hail, got some chip damage, got an indirect for Quagsire there at the very end. Comes out of it with a commanding 6-0 over Skittles' Mono Water team.
I believe that's the second 6-0 of just this draft. Or just this division?
No, this division only has this one.
Okay.
Milo got 5-0'd.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
But yeah, there were 2 6-0s in Pearl. There was 1 6-0 in Platinum this week. So a lot of 6-0ing happening. This is one of them. This is our Diamond 6-0. Banana's looking very strong right out the gate. Kind of, again, an unconventional matchup, so maybe not great for studying if you're expecting to fight Bananas in the future and thinking like, oh, I'm going to do some VOD review. This was a bit scuffed and silly, given that it's Skittles' Mono Water team versus a bunch of things that are, kind of anti-rain and anti-water. Mm-hmm. But at the end of it, man, Bananas executed the game plan to as much perfection as you could hope for, right? 6-0 over Skittles.
And you got to play for differential. I mean, that's the stuff that gets you into that's the stuff that gets you in a playoff.
Oh yeah, it's important. You need that. I mean, fuck, if I'm Bananas, I want that 6-0. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I believe this is our last match of this division. We have Lady Aylin, coach of the Primarina-H. Still not entirely sure what H stands for, but
and we have medicine joke.
And we have, you know what? No, I'm not going to say it in VOD review.
All right.
And then we have player coach of the Maryland Manectrics. Just at a glance, Claire has had pretty much the same game plan for a little over a year and a half now. Psychic Terrain, send in the teacup, do some damage.
Yeah,
Right? Like, everything else is secondary except those 2 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Everything else is just filler at this point, right?
Claire has 10 filler picks and the Psychic Terrain Poltegeist core. So that's... And it works, Poltegeist is genuinely a great value pick where it's at. It's moved up a bit in the tiers. I think it's still a good value pick where it's at. IDM picked up Poltegeist and put some real respect on it in the World Championship, and Claire is, even before that, was no stranger to the Poltegeist Psychic Terrain combo. If you're not familiar with why that's good, Psychic Terrain, and I'll give you the primer now, so that when we refer back to it multiple times during this match, we have an easy-to-reference point of reference. Cameron, what does Psychic Terrain do?
All right, well, Psychic Terrain has a bevy of effects, but the two that I think we need to really hammer down on is, one, prevents priority on grounded Pokemon, no matter what, no matter where that comes from, always. If the Pokemon is on the ground, Psychic Terrain is up, it will not be hit by any kind of priority. The second thing that Psychic Terrain is really known for is damage boosting stuff like Expanding Force, generally
Psychic,
shoring up,
Psyshock,
shoring up
Stored Power,
especially, which is why it pairs so well with Shell Smash Poltergeist, because it has a base 120 or base like 140 stored power coming off Psychic Terrain as well after one Shell Smash, which is just ludicrous,
absolutely bonkers.
Definitely a lot more column A than column B in terms of preventing the use of priority moves.
Yeah, like some terrains, like most terrains have multiple things going for them. Some things like Misty Terrain are like, oh, having Dragon type damage does have relevance sometimes. It's even had relevance in Double Dip, but for the most part, it's like, okay, I'm doing this for the status. I would say, genuinely, for the most part, like 75% of Psychic Terrain is just preventing priority. 25% is, look how hard my Psychic type moves hit.
Right, because my Psychic Terrain draft, I was abusing Slush Rush so that Arctozolt couldn't get priority. Last season, Claire had Psychic Terrain, Pleasant Diddy, and Pheromosa at the time, which of course Pheromosa is built like a wet tissue paper.
Yep.
So, I mean, being able to not just get instantly destroyed by any offensive Aqua Jet or, Quick Attack or anything, obviously is a boon in her favor. But I think that's enough, I think that's enough.
Yeah,
dawdling. I think we can go ahead.
Basically, just to give you the context of who the players are before we jump right in, Aelin, brand new, fresh-faced, has some amount of Smogon experience, but nothing in draft and nothing in Double Dip, so she's like a clean slate. Claire has been very steadily grinding and going up and up and up the seed. She's currently, I think, roughly 4th, no, she's 5th, I think, in the league right now. But she's just really good, she's consistently getting better. She's got good wins on IDM. Vincent, knocked him out of playoffs last time. Consistently making playoffs, so she's quite a threat. Just another opportunity for Aelin to stretch her legs and be like, okay, it's a gimme. If I lose this to Claire, it's like, fine, it's Claire. If I win this, that's a huge value win, right? Exactly. And I think for your week 1, that's as good as it can get. So let's have a look and see what happened. So Breloom is so strong.
Breloom is an actually incredible lead. Claire brought Bullfish Balloon because Scarf Garchomp was like the first and obviously the most oppressive threat to her draft starting off. Did a million to Mega Diancie, Poltergeist, Stone Edge, Thunderous, Earthquake, the Bullfish. Scarf Garchomp got a lot of value.
Yeah.
And there's the first.
Whoa! Grounded Pokemon immune to Thunder Wave because of Prankster, which is priority moves. Psychic Terrain, you didn't get paralyzed. Lady Aelin, 24?
Fortunately, we have that frame of reference, and now we know that grounded-type Pokemon can't get hit by priority moves.
I cannot believe it +4 that still lived.
Yeah, that's kind of insane.
Quillfish is ridiculous.
I honestly think it's a great pickup. Toxic Spikes, Intimidate, Poison Jab, Scale Shot, Swords Dance if you're based.
Yeah.
And
Diancie comes in. Aelin's like, I'm gonna do Mach Punch for shit. so both players within the first 10 turns were like, I don't know what Psychic Terrain does.
But that's why it's week 1. We're learning about draft.
Look, it's fine. We have to do the fucking terrain thing every season, right? Like, people just forget every time.
Yeah, and especially because there's lower value picks like Pincursion that get terrain. You can sort of sneak some terrain in there and hope that your opponent plays really poorly around it.
Yeah.
Ugh. There's all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
The Protect on the Sleeping in DD doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me
personally. It was a questionable Protect. I think she wanted to scout. I think it's just one of those things where you're new and you're not used to keeping track of a million different game factors and field conditions. So it's okay, maybe I forgot that it was asleep, or maybe I forgot that Destiny Bond would deactivate after a Protect, or it's better than trying to pop it with a Ghost type move and then having it soak because it's normal, right?
And to Aelin's credit, she did put herself in a good position. Had that Iron Head flinched, Garchomp behind Tailwind would have taken at least another 3 kills.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy that Avalon still just tanked a +2 Iron Head.
Oh yeah, no, dude, overcompensates its typing with its 180 defense.
It's ridiculous.
Absurd.
It's so much.
I think as it stands now, a lot of the note taking that we took sort of in preparation for this match, the match just kind of plays out exactly how you think it would from this point on.
From this point, nobody makes any particularly strong or weak plays. It's just like, yeah, this is what Aeglin needs to do to play her win con. Claire, adapts, like, doesn't hyper voice into the ghost type, expanding forces because it's just safe. You might as well.
Right.
And then that's all she wrote.
The game plays out.
Yeah.
And that's that. That is the end of the week 1 of the Pearl Division.
Diamond Division.
Diamond Division.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We are watching Diamond. We are in Platinum, and we have nothing to do with Pearl.
We have exactly. I guess that's why we're the ones that can do this.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess gotta remember that.
Yep. We are doing Diamond together, and that is week 1 of Diamond. So let's have a look at the rankings in the Diamond Division. Bringing up the top of the division at the end of week 1, we have our 6-0 winner. We've got Bananas. Don't drop that to Dedennes at 1-0 with a +6 differential. As good as you can get for a week 1.
Exactly.
Bringing up the secondary spot is Cabral of the Slinging Aegislashers at 1-0 with +5. Just barely missing on that 6-0, having lost his Urshifu to Mega Ampharos. Third place somehow is Scoots at 1-0 at +4. And fourth is Claire at 1-0 and +3. So hilarious that like Bananas and Cabral, by differential at least, have shot above what would otherwise be the top 2 seeds of the division. But of course, it's no one's surprise that that Claire and Scoots got a win week 1. On the bottom side of Diamond Division, the top of the unqualified players is Primarina-H. That's Aeglin at 0-1 -3. Right behind her is Black Captain at 0-1 -4. Right behind him is Milo at 0-1 -5, and in dead last we have got the recipient of the 6-0, our friend Skittles, the Butt, Crystal Cresselias at 0-1 -6.
I will say I quite appreciate the fact that that's like descending. It's 6, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, that'll get a lot sloppier as we go, but there's kind of a beautiful symmetry to it from week 1, because everybody, it's just like the one game's played across the aisle, so every 6-0 has an 0-6, right? This is, I think, roughly what we would have expected from the week 1, just by seed. Bananas not dropping to Skittles is huge, but also getting that 6-0 means he's looking really good. I think Bananas, unless he just goes absolutely nuts and like starts beating like Claire and Scoots, is one of the players that we would expect to be roughly in the ballpark of like 3 to 6 place, which means that differential is so important for just making sure you're above the line, when it comes down to those tiebreaker scenarios. And Cabral also loving having that 5-0.
Right.
I mean, it's no 6-0, but winning at a 5-0 is still so good for Div.
And also, like, just looking at it from here, I mean, at least Primarina-H and, Black Captain, the Martian Mantines, for their first week, they had probably the hardest matchups, being Scoots and Claire, respectively.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be disingenuous to sort of count them out so early, because they could very easily shore up that difference in their week 2.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with Black Captain and Claire specifically. Claire, excuse me. I was very impressed with Aeglin. I'm always impressed with Claire. She's good, but we know she's good, right? Aeglin put up a really good fight.
You get no praise, Claire.
You get no praise. They know your fucking place, Claire. Just praise to Aeglin. Aeglin did a really good job.
Good job, Aeglin. We appreciate you.
Black Captain did a really good job, and I think, Milo and Skittles just shaking off the rust, getting used to the draft, figuring out, like, okay, what works, what doesn't work, kind of catching their bearings. So I would keep an eye on honestly, I think the player to keep an eye on for me is Black Captain. I think I want to see what he does going forward, because he had a really, really interesting week 1.
And week 2 is going to be a whole lot more put together for everyone across the board, but I think, Martian Mantines especially, it's going to have a strong showing for their week 2.
We'll see that. So I guess that all having been said, that was Diamond Division Week 1. Thank you so very much for watching. I would highly recommend that you check out the sister videos to this one, which are the Week 1 Platinum Division and the Week 1 Pearl Division recaps, which will be linked in the description and in the related videos and on the YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. You know where to find them. A lot of crazy stuff. Actually, I'd recommend skipping on the Platinum Division recap, but you can definitely check out Pearl.
What's happening with the Platinum Division recap?
One of us didn't win.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit, and then you looked at me like I don't understand.
I forget, because we haven't been in the same division ever since we started, except up to this point.
That's true. The seating just worked out fine. But that's all she wrote. As always, I am Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers.
I'm Kenneth, coach of the Ne'er-Do-Well Nidoking.
And thank you very much for joining us today. We will be back next week with some more recap action.
Bye-bye!